I was so proud of being a perfectionist that was one of the culprits of my divorce. Perfectionism is when it becomes maladaptive. To be perfect is to be in your flow.
How do you know when someone is healed?
I don't know whoever fully heals. In the meantime, it's someone who's like, you know what? I'm good with myself.
Whether I'm in flower or not.
Whether I'm in flow or not, do I have to burn out and crash so that someone can hold me? I've gone from learning to be my worst inner critic to getting out of my way to being my best company.
So what do you see as spiritual bypass?
For me, spiritual bypassing is continuing to wear the mask. It's awareness with action. You can have all of the insight, but if you don't do anything about it, who cares? Fear behind control. There's the fear of surrendering, and that's a lack of trust. We also have to continue to check if that genuine aspect is another mask or is really our true core value.
Welcome to the Sageful Living podcast, and welcome Dr. Eva Benmeleh. I'm so excited to have you here. Can you tell our audience a bit about yourself and your past?
Definitely. So before we started recording, you had asked me how to pronounce my last name. And I said, when we moved from Venezuela to Miami, my parents said, well, your name is no longer Eva Benmeleh, Eva Benmeleh, because we had to fit in. And that could be one of many of the perfectionism masks that I started to wear as a little girl without even knowing it. And with really good meaning behind it, right? Good intentions. So, in a nutshell, what is it that I do is that I've dedicated my career as a clinical psychologist on perfectionism, which is integrating the masks that we wear. Because when we shed the mask, we need to fill up that space with something else. And when we become more genuine, more authentic with ourselves, we also have to continue to check if that genuine aspect is another mask or is really our true core value.
So how old were you?
When I moved, I was 6.
So you started really young with having to be perfect. I would think when we come from a foreign country, fitting in is really important.
Yeah.
And how do you feel that you were trying to be perfect?
Oof. Getting the good grades, right? I didn't speak a word of English.
Really?
Yeah. I think I said good morning and I love you and whatever I picked up from TV. But my parents were amazing and they hired a tutor to help me learn, and my brother and sister. And it was about being the nice one, right? The one that helped other people. I got so good at being the immigrant child that my teachers would always put me as the guide for the newcomers,
Yeah.
whether they spoke English or not.
And where were you, here in Florida?
Yeah, in Miami.
In Miami. And when you moved here in '89, were there a lot of Venezuelans, a lot of Spanish-speaking people?
I was that weirdo that spoke Spanish. I wasn't Cuban or Colombian.
I can relate because I grew up Jewish in a very Catholic community. So I felt very separated from everybody. So maybe as we have this conversation, I will see things from my childhood where I was trying to be perfect and fitting in. So the subject we do want to tackle today is perfectionism. I know that's something that you work a lot with your clients and helping them to see themselves and see where they are not happy in their lives, perhaps because they are trying to be perfect all the time. And what is perfect? So what is perfect and what is perfectionism?
Right. And that's the nuance that is so unique to each and every one of us and also universal. Because that's also where we get stuck on the perfectionism. Perfectionism is when it becomes maladaptive. To be perfect is to be in your flow. but it's also to be checking in with yourself. You know, if I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing because it's coming from a good place in my heart, it feels good. It doesn't mean that there's no struggle, because there's work, there's ethics, there's a lot of things that we have to learn. But there's this feeling of resonance, like I belong here, I belong with this, even if there's doubt. Perfectionism is I'm going to strive no matter what. I will be competing against others. I'll be competing against myself. I will never be able to be present in this moment and feel the joy of being here, because I'm always looking at the next best thing. And I'm always hypercritical of myself, of the people I love, of everything around me. So I'm more drawn to being depressed or anxious or putting myself in situations where I'm not feeling ever really satisfied.
Yeah, that's interesting. Someone said to me once that I was my own worst enemy.
Yeah?
And I don't think I saw that as I'm trying to be perfect. I saw it as, well, there's no one else.
Yeah.
Who else is going to tell me I'm doing wrong? Who else is going to tell me I'm doing good? I moved a lot. I lived alone a lot. But I was my own worst enemy. And possibly couldn't get out of my own way.
I used to say the same thing about myself. I'm my best critic and my worst critic. And throughout all of these years because there's a fine line of being a psychologist and being a person who applies the psychology to their personal life. Some psychologists don't. But being in this modalities, in this healing, in this self-discovery journey for the last almost decade, I've gone from learning to be my worst inner critic to getting out of my way to being my best company. Right?
I love that. So I'd love to talk more about that. And how do you help your clients do this and to become their best company? Yeah, we really need to love ourselves and be our own best friend.
Right, because how we treat ourselves is what will be emanating and coming out, and how others will then reflect and treat us, right?
Yeah.
So how do we work like that? So in the beginning, it has to be a recognition. There's a problem, right? We don't learn the nice way. We learn through the punches that something just is not right. And for each and every one of us, it comes in many different ways. It comes for some people through financial issues. It can come through illness. It can come from relationships that fall completely off. It could come from societal problems like war, right? Or financial issues that are affecting everybody, or COVID, right? These sorts of things are the blaring warning signs that something's not right. Life is not going the way I want it to. And even with that recognition, there's so much to take from that. Because if we think that we are 100% accountable and we are 100% in control, then we're actually perpetuating more of the perfectionism. But when we allow there to be space of the grace, of the spiritual aspect of life, that there is a bigger and greater plan, then we start to learn, okay, I need help. I need to find resources. I need to connect with others who have been there, done that. I need to figure out that I don't have to reinvent the wheel, but I have to lower my ego to allow those people in.
Yeah, so many people don't know how to ask for help.
Right.
And that's why we're here. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast is exactly what you said, is to let people know there are resources out there and there are healing modalities out there and there are people out there. You're not alone.
Exactly. That's the first thing, that you're not alone. Because when we're in the throes of despair, that's the first thing that we think, right? I'm alone in this. No one understands me. No one's had it this bad. And if they have, they've done terrible things. And that's not true. We all have our own set of situations, issues, feelings, right? And our own dark nights of soul that can last however long they need to until we start to come out of it. And it is real, even if it sometimes doesn't feel like it is. It is. It's a warning sign for us to say, okay, something has got to give, and everything that I've been doing hasn't been working. So when someone comes and says, okay, I'm ready for that kind of help, we begin this process of self-discovery, of therapy, of learning to meditate, of learning to listen to the heart, of understanding that there is this whole being inside of the body that is acting out in many ways consciously and in many ways unconsciously. And learning how to bridge that gap through many different modalities is what helps somebody get out of their own way and learn to be their best company.
So it sounds like the key is awareness.
It's awareness with action.
With action.
Because you can have all of the insight and know why, and you never really know all the reasons why. You do what you do, you don't, whatever. But if you don't do anything about it, who cares?
Right.
You can go to therapy for the rest of your life. You could read all of the books. It doesn't matter if you don't put that into action.
So true. I look at that when we do family constellations, and people show up and they say, wow, I constellated the same thing years ago. So I think to myself when they say that, what did you do between now and then to change the situation, to rectify the situation? And I think getting out of our own way, it's not weak to need help.
No.
That's powerful when we ask for help and when we seek change in our lives. I think also with perfectionism, as you're speaking, I think about, a lot of people transform through trauma. And I know for me, I used to feel, well, I haven't been through anything very traumatic, so who am I to complain? I wasn't molested, I didn't go through hardship, my parents didn't get divorced, but then I had to look as I got into the healing world, and it was like, but you did go through things. You went through other things where you suffered anti-Semitism growing up, you felt very alone, you felt very singled out, and other things. I had physical trauma. I had 2 very major car accidents, and it took me a long time to see how those accidents and the ramifications in my family from those accidents affected my adulthood. Right. So it's really that letting go, not feeling alone, and knowing that you don't have to suffer any big trauma to need some help.
Right, because in that way we're redefining what it is to have trauma and help, right? Because you're right. If we get stuck in the identity of what it means or what's worth going to therapy for, then we're missing the whole point. Or what's worth going into a healing type of modality, we miss the point. In my opinion anyway, it's to learn who you are. And to learn about who you are means to be a witness to everything that has happened to you. And to see it if you can hold it, what you want to continue holding and what you want to let go of. So someone who's gone through these traumatic car accidents, you understand what it might feel like to be in complete loss of control and fear for your life as someone who's gone through something completely different.
Yeah.
The context is semantics. It's the content that is what unites all of us. It's those emotions that unite us. And when you're able to tap into that, if I'm able to tap into that, then we can help so many people because that's how they feel seen. But we're not sticking to that as the identity. Like, oh, because you did or didn't go through that, then well, that gives you a reason or no reason.
Right. Like for you, it's like you don't have to identify yourself as an immigrant when you were a child, but that was your whole identity. And for me, it was I was a Jew. Right. Because it's what made me so different, and that's what made you so different. And it's accepting those pieces of ourselves and loving those pieces of ourselves. So you mentioned control a lot. Yeah. So it sounds like perfectionism is really tied to control. And talk about some reasons why people feel they need to be in control.
There's fear behind control. There's anxiety behind control. There's the fear of surrendering. And that's a lack of trust. And it goes back to so many places. Usually we, for whatever the reasons, at some point in our life, we needed some sort of support and we didn't get it. And we were looking for the person who is supposed to do that for us and we didn't get it. So it's usually the caregiver, the mother, the father, or someone who has that title in our life. And so instead of working through that, we hold on to that and we then just project it onto everything and everyone. And our society is built in many ways on that. So we have plan Bs for things, we have action plans for other things, and we buy things to safeguard because it's all our need to control. How are we going to stay alive?
Survival.
Right.
The work I've been seeing, especially with family constellations and friends that are doing trainings, is Bert Hellinger, who created family constellations, said 50 years in the work and he was still working on his mother.
Yeah.
And the work that I've done, I noticed it's a lot of resentment towards the mother.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of perfectionism, I think, comes from trying to please the mother.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see that in your work?
Yeah, so perfectionism is actually wounded masculine.
Oh, interesting.
And so the mother, she, as all of us, we have the capacity to hold both the feminine and the masculine. And so a lot of it is, I will strive, I will work, I will plan, I will organize, I will make it happen. But then who holds me when I need to be held? And do I have to burn out and crash so that someone can hold me, right? And so there's this wounding of who is my container, the mother, because I need to be more like father. But the way that I'm being like father, the way that I'm being masculine is mean, because it's overworking, it's leading to the burnout, it's ruthless. And that's not how we would really want to be treating our mother or our father or even ourselves, but we do that to ourselves because we think that's the only way.
Do you find that with your clients, are they more people that are in corporate? Are there stay-at-home moms?
Yeah.
Is it a bit of everything?
It's a bit of everything because perfectionism is insidious. It's the competition with ourselves without understanding that there's so much more that's happening all around us all the time.
And how do you know when someone is healed? When are your clients done?
Sorry. You would have asked me that a couple of years ago and I would have had the perfect answer. And now I laugh because I don't know whoever fully heals. We are carrying things from so many generations in our DNA. And the more that science comes out with the power of epigenetics, how our nature is so impacted by our nurturing, our environment. Our environment has a power to turn parts of our body on and off. To be that aware, to perfectly choose the exact environment where you can finally say, I am fully in presence, I'm fully embodied, I'm in joy, and in flow, working towards what I want. I haven't met that person yet. There's glimpses of them, and I love it when I'm in that space, when I see other people in that space, but I haven't yet met someone who's there constantly. So in the meantime, it's someone who's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with myself.
Whether I'm in flow or I'm not.
Whether I'm in flow or I'm not. Because whatever's happening right now, whether I'm in the throes of another deep dive, depressive, whatever that is, or whether I'm up high doing all the beautiful creation, I recognize that I'm creating all of it. And that, again, there's this higher power. And I keep saying again because this spiritual aspect of my work is relatively new.
I want to get into that.
Yeah.
So let's go back then. When did you know this was the work that you wanted to do? Did you go right into this in your bachelor's degree and start studying psychology, or was it later after you had your degree? Did you know in high school, this is what I'm going to study, this is what I'm going to do? Like, how did you know this was your path? Coming from someone who has had multiple careers and many industries and all over the US and changed all the time, I was always searching. And I know now as an adult, I was just absorbing and gaining information. But I love when people knew at a younger age, or I'm always interested in how did someone get on their path. So how did you know, or when did you know this is what you wanted to do? Because it's a lot of school to become a psychologist.
For the rest of my life.
For the rest of your life, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if people know this,
Right.
But when you have an advanced degree in something like psychology, a doctor, a nurse, you have to every year take courses to keep your certification. So you are constantly being educated, which is fantastic because there's always new skills and tools coming out. So it's wonderful that you have to continue your education, but like you said, for a lifetime. So when did you know that this was what you wanted to do?
I wanted originally to be an archaeologist.
Really?
Yeah.
You're going to be in Egypt.
That's what I wanted to do, yeah.
Wow.
But my mom said, how are you going to raise a family being an archaeologist in the middle of the desert?
I'm going to do it. The kids are coming with me.
Yes, that does not fly with a Jewish Costa Rican woman. Come on. So I said, okay, well, what's the next best thing? Oh, I'll study the mind.
Wow.
And so that's what I did. My bachelor's was in psychology. My minor was in anthropology because I didn't have archaeology.
You didn't want to give it up?
Oh, hell no. I'm a rebellious oldest daughter. Come on. And Spanish. And I went straight from undergrad to graduate school, and I studied clinical psychology, and it was very cognitive behavioral. It was very heavy in that, which is when we understand so much more about psychology and the mind and the body. It's one of the most basic tenets of psychology because it really just reduces the human to thoughts and behaviors, and it's very reactive. So it didn't really sit so well with me. My internship and postdoc was in a psychodynamic field where that really is taking into consideration the ghosts of the nursery, the relationships that are alive and well within us that we are not necessarily having in real time, but they're the images like, oh, you remind me so much of such and such person, and that person has this whole history, but it's more family constellations vibe. And so that was what impacted me to do more of the work with mothers and their infants and studying, that relationship. And the more that I studied it, I recognized that there was this common thread of not feeling good enough, feeling alone, feeling empty throughout all of the diagnoses. And then when it came to my divorce in 2018, I realized that I was so proud of being a perfectionist. That was one of the culprits of my divorce.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you in therapy yourself?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I needed to be the perfect divorcee. Yes, it's all of it, right? And that was my breaking open. For real. That was like, okay, you've been the psychologist, you've been studying it, you've been there in sessions with other people, and yet you have this, can I curse?
Yeah.
Shit show of a family life that you are trying so much to keep perfect, but now it's crumbling into a divorce. So what are you doing? So I started really delving into that's where I started learning about feminine and masculine energies. That's when I started going to Joe Dispenza retreats. That's when I started learning about Reiki, about breath work, about plant medicine.
As you got on the path, as we like to say in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
So that's one thing Eva and I met through family constellations, and things that we share are these healing modalities and the plant medicine and the worlds that we're in.
Yeah.
And what I love is that you bring this into your practice. It's not that you bring it to your patients, but you bring it from who you are to be able to help them. So talk to me about that. What separates you of how you handle your clients from who you are now of who you were then before?
Oh, thank you. Yes. We're taught never to talk about ourselves, right? Like we do not share our personal life in therapy sessions. And for good reason, because the session is for the client, not for us. But now, and throughout the years, I've noticed that when I open up, because it's a benefit to the client, and I speak from a place of my heart, not from the knower, that the client, their defenses release, they lower, and they meet me where they want to be, not even where I want them to be. But it's like, hey, look, I'm not here on the other side because I'm perfect or because I don't have issues. I'm here because I see what I can see and I work through what I can. And that's what I'm offering to you.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like that's bringing a human aspect to, and I think that's why people want to be with someone that they can relate to.
Yeah.
Or can relate to them.
Right.
Yeah. Do you prescribe meditation?
Yeah.
Like, are you getting do your clients come to you and maybe they don't have awareness of these modalities? And are you bringing that to the practice?
For sure. I was certified in heart math. And so I teach meditation as well for those who are
Can you explain what heart math is?
Yeah, definitely. Heart math is a modality. It's about heart-brain coherence. And there's a whole story behind that. I don't have to get into it. But it was my way of trying to understand myself, how sometimes my heart is saying yes. And my brain is like, bad idea. And I wasn't understanding how to get them to be aligned. And so I found through Dr. Joe Dispenza's work And that heart math was one of the techniques that he was using. And so then I wanted to learn about it and I wanted to get myself to become more efficient. That's the perfectionism, but in an adaptive mode, right?
Yeah.
It's like I want to refine my craft of life. What are the tools that I can use to get me there? So that's one of the ways that I implement that in my practice. But there are many practices like constellations, like hypnosis, like breath work that I refer out to the people that I trust, the
Yes.
practitioners that I trust, and plant medicine as well. If the person is called and it's something that they're interested in to do in places that are legal.
It's beautiful. I love that, bringing that aspect of spirituality to your practice, because there is so much out there.
Yeah.
There's so many things, and there's so much different type of therapy as well.
Right.
You know, so you mentioned cognitive, and I think people don't realize that there are different modalities even within the psychology world, and they can have different types of therapies. There's even EMDR.
Right.
You know, and I would say EMDR is in that world as well, and it has to do with the rapid eye movement. So one thing you mentioned to me before coming on was perfectionism and spiritual bypass.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about spiritual bypassing. It's interesting. I came across something recently because I had a different understanding of what spiritual bypassing is.
Okay.
So what do you see as spiritual bypassing?
For me, spiritual bypassing is continuing to wear the mask of I'm intellectualizing, I'm doing all the things, I'm going to the ceremonies, I'm going to the meditations, I'm practicing it every day. But then when the emotion comes up and it's real and it's heavy in any capacity, positive or negative, doesn't matter, I walk from it. No, I'm going to analyze it, or I will make sense of it, or I will call it a sign, or what, instead of learning to sit with it and transmute it. Avoiding it through the things that are supposed to actually bring you to embody, to then be able to release. That's how I see it. I don't know.
Like what do you mean the things?
The things like yoga, like breath work, like retreats. You know, there's beautiful, intentional, ancient practices that help us do the coherence, help us be in coherence. But if our ego and the other parts of our mind are saying, yes, let's act like we're doing it, but not allowing it to land and restructure from within, then we're bypassing.
Interesting. That is definitely one way that I've seen it more recently with myself. You know, people always think, oh, Susan's so spiritual, she's a sage, and she has all this wisdom. And then I'm sitting on the couch watching TV for 6 hours. And I have a whole healing room, and I'm not going in there and meditating at night. So I'm bypassing myself. I'm not doing the work. If I look to the world, maybe I'm doing the work. But sometimes I'm not actually doing the work.
And what is the work?
I think the work is even the meditating.
Yeah.
It's even the being conscious, being in gratitude. You know, when I'm in the work, I wake up in the morning and I say Modalities. It's thanking God for returning the soul to the body, and thank you for another day.
And for returning my faith in you.
And my faith in you. Yeah.
My faith in you.
In you. Yeah, I think, how do your patients handle God? Does it come up in the sessions? Because for me, I felt God abandoned. So I grew up Jewish. I was very forced into the religion. And when I was in my 20s, I ran away from it. And I felt like God forgot me. Why would he leave me in this place suffering like this? So I ran away. And I remember I was doing 40 days of Kundalini yoga, and one woman had finished 90 days. And I would never say God. I would say creator, source. I couldn't use the word God. And then Carmen was sharing after doing 90 days of this practice at 4 o'clock in the morning, and she was saying God, 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 God. And I remember sitting there going, what is she talking about? God. And then one day I was listening to the Japji, which is the sacred Sanskrit prayer that we recite at the beginning of the Kundalini practice in the morning. And I was listening to it in English. And it was God, God, God. And it was just, I had this revelation that it was all God, whether it was source or it was a creator or the light or it's Jesus, it's Mary, it's Moses. It's all one thing. It's all God. And I then became very comfortable with talking about God and believing in God. And I find people sometimes, if they're not here, they're uncomfortable with God. You know, like they think you're religious. And that's the thing, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual, and I feel I connect to medicine music that is in the languages I don't even know, more than I connect with Jewish songs that I grew up with. But it doesn't matter. It's all one source. It's all the same energy. So how do your clients feel? Do you bring God into it, or they get it?
Both.
Oh,
Yeah, it's both. It's like you just said, right? God, universe, spirit, source, Jesus, Allah, whatever. So I use their language. Cheetos.
Cheetos. What does Michelle say? Mickey Mouse.
Whatever, whatever makes sense to them is what I will say.
Have you ever had anyone come in that's atheist and doesn't believe in a higher power?
Yes.
Yes. And you're still able to help them through this
Yes.
because you have the God within you.
And so do they.
So do they.
You know, I tell people this all the time. When they work with me, there's a bigger reason. You know, no, they don't know what we have in common, and neither do I. Before we start working together, it just starts to come out as the sessions proceed, right? So, you know, my spiritual practice was empty. I was the perfect Jewish wife. I did Shabbat dinners. We went to the synagogue for the high holidays. My kids were going to Jewish daycares, preschools. You know, I was doing all the things. But in here, I was really lacking. But you know, now look at me. It's all the same. It's the fantasy. It's the Maya. It's the facade. It's the we're disconnected, but we're always connected. You're watching TV, but you're also in there, right? And so someone who's coming in and saying, "Well, I don't believe in anything," there's 100% respect. Well, when they start to see within themselves that what they're saying that they don't believe in actually is that they are missing the belief within themselves, then they start to believe in something. What they want to call it, that's on them, not on me
Right.
to decide.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, and then with spiritual bypassing, you know, I thought sometimes it was the people that are out there in the spiritual world pretending to be something that they're really not inside. And they're putting on that mask and that facade. I remember there was a time where my friends and I, we had the feathers and the hats and the boho chic dresses, and we had gone to a friend's apartment, and she told me later that one of her neighbors was like, "Oh, all the girls in the costumes came." So it was like an image that we were trying to do, and I feel that there are people that are trying to portray this image, but they're not embodying.
Right.
And so for me, as I came away from that, and it's like now I'm back, I bought some beautiful corporate, more like dresses, more elegant stuff, and it's like I don't need to look a part to be that inside of me. It is who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that I felt that was spiritual bypassing because I was pretending.
Right. You were in performance.
I was in performance.
Which is exactly what we do. We go on this path to now be in performance.
Yeah.
But that's why it's the bypass, because it's, you know, I wrote about this yesterday. Perfectionism is such a shapeshifter. So we can pretend to not be perfect because now we're not in the corporate outfit and now we're in the boho chic linen. But if the boho chic linen has to be from a specific brand and a specific cut and da-da-da, then it's the same thing as wearing your Tory Burch outfit.
Okay.
So it's both being serious, but then also laughing about it.
Yes.
And saying, here you are again. Come on over. What are we up to today? What kind of mischief is happening here? Because this could go really ugly. Or it could be beautiful. Our choice. What do we think?
What do we think? I look at those feathers now because I didn't get rid of them, but it makes me laugh, and it reminds me of that time where I felt I had to be something in the spiritual.
Yeah.
And it's like I felt I needed to look that part.
Yeah.
And now I've evolved past that. I don't need to look anything. I just need to feel comfortable in myself.
Yeah.
You know, and confident in what I'm wearing.
And you look beautiful.
Thank you.
And I'm in shorts.
Hey, listen, we live in Miami, so
Professional interview
that's going
right
to be a
now.
way. So, all right. Is there anything else that you want to discuss or bring up about your spiritual practices, about your psychology practice?
There's one thing, and this is about motherhood. I think that moms, we are in for such a rude awakening. And caregivers, when we take on that responsibility to care for another person who is younger, who needs that nurturance, it's a lot that then is mirrored back to us about who we are, how we treat ourselves, and the perfectionism can really take a toll, not just on ourselves, but also our relationship with them and our relationship with how we view ourselves. The standards are so high because it's a vulnerable person. And so this is a big part of the work that I do and take it very seriously because as caregivers, as mothers, as parents, we really have that responsibility to take care of ourselves so that we can provide that space for someone else to step into who they really are. And when we are doing this work and we're really homing in on the aspects that we adore, the aspects that we're disgusted with, the aspects that we can't even see, and we start to put it all together, integration, the kids that we think aren't paying attention, they're watching us. They're living it, they're breathing it, they're smelling it, they're seeing, okay, if she can work through her stuff, there's a chance I can work through mine. And my defenses can go down and I can go in the world more confident. So for me, that's really important. I think that we have that responsibility as human beings, society, part of society, but especially when we're caregivers and parents.
I think I really needed to hear that. You know, it is interesting with mothers because people think they're making all the right decisions for their children too, and people always say, "Oh, I'm not going to mess up my kids." You're always going to mess up your kids. They are their own souls, and you're never going to know everything that's right for them. But they're here on their own journey. Yeah. But it is doing the work for ourselves so we can show up the best. And it's also with a bypassing. I read a Facebook post once where this woman was talking about women escaping the family into plant medicine and going to ayahuasca ceremonies every weekend, but not doing the integration and spending the time with their families and avoiding the family. You know, so it's finding that balance within, but also knowing as a parent you're doing the best that you can. That there is no rule book, but that they are their own soul and they're going to be on their own path. And maybe you're doing something you think this isn't going to mess them up, but you have no idea. And hopefully you gave them enough tools that they know that they can get help when they need it and that they don't need to be perfect either.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is in perfect timing. Everything is exactly as it should. And back to the point that you made about awareness. When we have that awareness, like, oof, I'm putting myself in situations that look like healing, but are taking me away from the actual healing, I have a choice. I can either stay, and I'm speaking about this from personal experience, stay and keep going and do the work because that's what I should do. That's the right thing to do so I can come back and be a better mother and be a better friend and lover and etc. Or I could be there with my daughter when she needs to talk to me about her things and be present and learn what that is. So those are important to clear me and to prepare me, but it's not fully finished and fully done there. The work is always off the mat. It's always back for the reason why you were there.
Right.
And I've taken this year mostly to be here.
And to be with your kids.
And to be in this 3D world of saying, okay, what have I learned from over here to bring it here to see, okay, let's test, experiment, does it work?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And one of the thing those women said in this article was, you can want to live in the ethereal. You can want to be in ceremony all the time, but we're here.
Yeah.
Live the 3D experience, live the human experience because this is what we have. Be in that world to center yourself, but live in this. Be present to your life or you're going to miss it. So the sageful living is live a life aligned. So what are your practices to keep you in alignment?
So what are my practices? There's several. Meditation is a big one. And meditation for me sometimes is sitting on the cushion in my room and closing my eyes for 5 to 10 minutes. It's chanting. It's going for a run. It's listening to really good music, in my opinion, and dancing by myself. It's writing. Those are my main practices. It's learning to be with my feelings without going to analyze them first, because that's my bypass. So when I'm in the throes of crying spells, of existential crises, of what am I doing here, what's my purpose, learning to sit there before going and, I typically don't ask for help, but before I go and call someone, yeah, I feel so bad. And when I'm on my highs or when I'm in my mundane, is like enjoying that too, right? Those are the things that keep me grounded through the ups and downs of my emotional
Right.
repertoire.
Yes, because we can't always be in flow. We can't always be happy. We're going to go through things. And I love that you said meditation with a run or music or dance, because people say, oh, I can't meditate because I can't sit down and sit still. There's so many other things that are meditation. Going
Right.
for a walk and looking at trees. One thing I love, and I can never say the guy's name right, the Buddhist monk, because like, yes. Yeah. I always struggle with that one. We'll get it to you. We'll put it in the show notes. But his walking meditations is to just walk and pick a color. Mm-hmm. And you will be surprised how much of that color you will see.
Wow.
Yeah, and you'll see, I pick pink, and okay, you see pink flowers, and then randomly there's a pink fire hydrant.
Right.
So it's being in the awareness of what's around you and just focusing on that. And then you're clearing your head. That's a meditation. It's a walking meditation. It doesn't have to be sitting down, listening to music or listening to a guided meditation or trying to not have thoughts. There's so many ways to be in a meditative state. Some people who are artists, they get into that flow and the meditativeness when they're painting, when they're creating music. But you can do it with things that bring you joy. You know, I think it's that about getting out of your head and just being. I love the dancing because dancing is a newfound love of mine.
And you're a great dancer.
Thank you. But I was very uncomfortable in my skin for decades. But I have such joy in dance now. And I used to always say, smart people read and fun people dance. Mm. So I also was judging myself of not being perfect because I didn't dance. So that made myself not fun. And now I've brought that back. So it's like I was judging myself. I wasn't perfect because I didn't like to dance. And it's how we express those things, and it's how we deal with those things without keeping them inside. Any last words that you want to share?
Life is what we make of it. If we can go on a walking meditation and pick the color pink and we see it everywhere, it's because that's what our mind is focusing on. If we want to focus on the definition of perfect and pinhole that to be it, then that's what life will look like. That's what it'll be like. And so it's learning to play that game, that it's everything and it's nothing and it's black and it's white. And we are all going through all of these emotions and experiences, to have the opportunity to feel it all and to not judge ourselves or berate ourselves when we're going through them. And the beautiful thing, at least for me, in being alive in this time is seeing how science and spirituality are really starting to become more openly connected to one another.
Yes, it's beautiful. People feel that spirituality is one thing, but science is starting to prove that these things have effects in the brain, and the brain affects the whole body. Yeah. And the brain and the heart, like you said before. And one thing we haven't even touched is social media. And how social media makes you feel that you're not perfect. We compare ourselves to what we see and the people we follow, and we want what they have, and our life isn't perfect because we don't have those things.
If that's the lens you're using social media for, then yeah. If you're using social media to open your mind to other opportunities, possibilities, beliefs, fashion, food, whatever, then you'll get a very different feed.
That's beautiful. That's true. Because of the feed and the algorithm, it's what it's going to bring you. Mm-hmm. I love that. So start following places that are going to give you more positive things to add to your life, not to make you feel bad about your life.
Right, because it's whatever we want to focus our attention.
Yeah, and now it puts it right in your face. Mm-hmm. All right, so Dr. Eva, how can people find you? What is your Instagram, your website? Are you taking on new clients? What is your, I don't want to say ideal client, but I know that you tend not to work with children. So what are the genre, age of the type of people that you see?
Thank you. So you can find me on Instagram. It's dr.evabenmeleh. My website is drevabenmeleh.com. And who do I work with? I work with individuals who are ready to make the change, who are aware enough to know that there's an issue with their life and how they're doing it, and that they're open to receiving that guidance support. They're not looking for someone to give them the answers, because I can have opinions and ideas, but I don't have the answers. I'm working with people who are parents as well, and who are seeing that the issues are manifesting in their children, but they understand wholeheartedly and want to admit it and work on it to understand that a lot of the things that are going on with their kids is reflected on them. So that the minute that they start making their amends with themselves, their children will begin to change. And I have seen that with the work that I do with my clients. So you could be a man, you could be a woman. Really what it is someone who's here saying, I need help, I've done it, it's not working, and I know what's at stake if I don't make the changes now.
Amazing. And I was going to ask you if it was men and women. So I'm so happy to hear that men are opening to the work. And do you see clients online or just in person?
Yeah, everything is virtual for now.
Oh, everything is virtual for now. Yeah, I mean, COVID really changed the world to make things be able to be more global too. So that is beautiful. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys all soon. We'll put everything in the show notes, and have a beautiful afternoon.
Thank you.